Good morning, children. I, Mrs. Devati, your social teacher. Welcome to grade 4, subject social science, topic sources of prehistory and history. So, already you learned many things in the previous class. We learnt about the archaeological source. In that, we learnt about the monument, inscription, artifacts, coins, and seals, everything we learnt in the previous class. Now we are going to learn about the literary source. What is literary source? All the written records of the people in the past are known as literary source. Most of the available literary source are handwritten documents like manuscripts. What are manuscripts? Handwritten records of the past in the form of books are called manuscripts. Manuscripts are important source of information for historians. Early times, these records were written on palm leaves, the barks of trees, or dried skin of sheep and goat. Before the invention of paper, they were writing on the dried skin, bark of trees and palm leaves. So, you can see some manuscripts in page 13, which was written on the palm leaf. So this literary source is divided into two parts, that is secular literature and religious literature. Coming to secular literature. Secular literatures give us lot of information, that is the writings which are not connected with the religion is called as secular literature. Example, stories, poems, plays, biographies of kings and leaders, autobiographies, accounts of foreign travelers, all these are secular literature. So, coming to biographies, biographies are writings written by a person on great rulers and leaders. Example, Akbarnama, Prithviraj Raso. It gives lot of information about the rulers who ruled that place and how he ruled, how the kingdom was there, and what were the rules he followed, what all the rules implemented by the king. All these are the biographies written by other people about the king or a great person. Autobiography is the life story of a person written by himself. Like how Mahatma Gandhi wrote, the story of my experience with the truth, and Rajendra Prasad wrote Atmakatha, etc. Like this, many people wrote their own stories for the people to know about their life, how they struggled and how they came up in their life, how they fought for the country, how patriotism was there in them. All these things we can learn when we study their autobiographies. Now coming to other literature, like other secular literatures are drama, poems, all these are the other secular literature. Drama and poems of Kalidasa, folk tales like Panchatantra, writings on politics like Arthashastra by Kautilya. This Arthashastra contains lot of guidelines how to rule a government. Like this, many accounts are there. The other important account is accounts of travelers. Travelers who come from other country, who come from foreign countries, also wrote many things about our country, about the place where they came and stayed. Example, Indica, written by Megasthenes. Megasthenes was a Greek ambassador. His book was known as Indica. He was in the court of Chandragupta in 300 BCE. He wrote about the Indian culture, custom and tradition in his book. The other account was account of Chinese traveler Fahed, who visited India during Chandragupta II. Chandragupta was also called as Vikramaditya. He collected Buddhist literature from India and Sri Lanka and went back to China. So other one Chinese traveler by name Hans Tung, he also collected he was a Buddhist pilgrimage. He also collected lot of information about the Buddhist literature, and he wrote about the rule of Harshavardhana. He came during Harshavardhana's period. I believe you know Harshavardhana's period was the end of ancient period. So he came during that time and he wrote about him also. So these are the secular literature. Coming to religious literature, in this, even the religious literature gives us lot of information about the religion, particular religion, like the Vedas. In the ancient period, Vedas were written by Aryans. The Hindu religion book written by early people called the Aryans. So these Aryans wrote the Vedas. There are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Ajar Veda and Atharva Veda. So these are the 4 Vedas. And other religious writings are the Puranas, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Bible, Quran. All these are the religious writing. We get lot of information about that religion in these books. And these books give lot of information about the religion which they belong to. So these are about religious literature. Now we are going to inscriptions. I already said about the inscriptions in the previous videos. So inscriptions are the writings engraved on hard surface such as stone, copper plate, cave walls, etc. The study of inscription is called as epigraphy. Inscription engraved on pillar by Emperor Ashoka says about the rule of the Emperor Ashoka, how he ruled, what all wars he fought, all these things, information we get about Emperor Ashoka in the Ashoka pillar. So that people will come to know about the king, how he ruled and when he ruled, where he ruled, everything. So these inscriptions are very, very important. We have to preserve all these inscriptions. Coming to oral sources. Oral sources are the sources which is said orally to the people. So many years back, human transferred their knowledge, art, music, everything they transferred. Whatever art they do, they transfer to their children. And it goes to generation. And even the music, it is transferred to all the other generation. So the music, art, from it transfers to one generation to other generation. And same way, even the stories, songs, chants and dance were also transferred from one generation to other generation. This form of human communication is known as oral tradition. Oral tradition are rich source of information about the history. See children, your parents, grandparents will say stories of the past. So when you hear that, you will say to your children. Your children will say to their children. Like that it transfers from one generation to other generation. The oral source transfers from one generation to other generation. The Puranas, the Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata were passed down orally from one generation to other generation for hundreds of years before they were finally written down. First, before they passed orally, later on they wrote it. So the importance of preserving the source of history. Why we should preserve the source of history? Why is it important to preserve the source of history? See, we learned about the past only through the source of history. Every source can tell us a story. By looking at the source carefully and trying to understand them, archaeologists and historians get a picture of the people and the event of the past. So to know about the past, we need the sources of history. Sources like artifacts, monuments, inscriptions, manuscripts and other historical texts need to be preserved with care for future. Most of them are part of our national heritage and help us to define who we are. In India, the source of history are protected in 3 ways. That is, monuments and caves and inscriptions are protected by Archaeological Survey of India. So this Archaeological Survey of India protects the monuments. If anybody is damaging the monument, they will be fined. So That's the reason when you go and see the monuments, they'll put a board that not to touch it. So they should not touch the monument and spoil it. So they protect them. Artifacts like coins and seals are preserved in museums. If you go to museums, you find lot of artifacts, coins and seals, everything. Every state in India has museum which collects and preserves the valuable artifacts. If you go to any place, museums in India, we find lot of artifacts which is preserved. Coming to secular, that is non-religious texts, they are preserved in the National Archives of India and various state archives. These are the places where they preserve the religious books so that they can use it. We can go and see those books there which is preserved. So these are the important sources of history which has to be preserved, which is very important that we have to preserve all these sources. Government has maintained museums to keep the records preserved. So government is maintaining the museum for the records to be preserved. So children, today you have learnt about the importance of preserving the source of history also. So all these pages, page number 13, 14 and 15, you are going to revise that and read the keywords, and I am giving an activity for you to do today, that is name the following. Page number 16, I want to write only this name the following. Read the textbook and write the answers here, children. So children, today you are going to finish all your work. Keep everything ready so that ma'am will be checking in the online classes. So take care children. Be safe. Thank you.